and I'm sure it's in your notes. I'm going to jump ahead because it ties in. About 4 months ago, there was an international conference of AI, just like they have automobile conferences and shoe conferences or whatever your business is. And just like at the automobile conference, they have the car that goes 150 miles an hour that they'll let you drive around the track that never makes it to the market somehow. And so they had the most advanced AI there. And the most advanced AI in the world is actually a network of multiple AIs. It's called Google's neural network, millions of dollars, tens of years to develop this. It's the latest and greatest AI. And it has in it a deep fake detection protocol. And you can feed it a video of Trump or Biden. It can tell you in 1 second whether or not this is really Trump or computer simulation of him. It has never been wrong. So one team, they let you play around with it for 3 days. So one team had it write a symphony, another team had it compose a novel, and another team fed it pictures from unmanned probes from China of the lunar surface a few years ago through the deepfake protocol program. And it said, they're real. And then, in comparison, which was the true genius of the experiment, they fed it pictures of the Apollo mission, and it instantly said they're fake. All of them are fake for multiple reasons. In fact, like that video we just showed, they had one image of an astronaut, and the computer said it's not even an astronaut, it's a miniature of an astronaut.
Wow.
It said fake background, fake foreground. It's not a person, it's a miniature. It even knew that the footprints, which they did like on a stick with a foot boot, like this, and this on the set.
Yeah.
It said a human doesn't walk that way. These are irregular footsteps. No human would walk that way.
Wow.
And so this story should be on every news station in the world. And get this, Mike. I got the Russian translation of it. I copied it. And when I went back, because I'm making a video about it, I wanted to prepare. And that's on the homepage of Sabrel.com, this new AI discovery. The link was gone. There's nothing there. So then I asked the guy, well, where's the original Russian link? And Google Translate wouldn't translate it. It would translate the script from Gilligan's Island into Russian or Russian to English, but it wouldn't translate the article. Then I found the super original one before that one. And I clicked on it, and it says, if you proceed, all the data on your computer will be stolen and you'll be associated with child pornography.
What?
This is how desperate they are, because this is alarming. I think this is the finger out of the dike, Mike, because you could say the God of the world and achievements, the greatest achievement of mankind is, of course, if it were real, putting a man on the moon. And then the Messiah of science, if you want to call it that, is AI. So a lot of intellectuals who previously thought the moon missions are real, AI, the most intelligent entity in the world, said the Chinese probe pictures on the surface are real, and the Apollo missions on the surface are completely fake in a TV studio.
Wow.
I don't think you can put your finger back in the dike anymore about that.
Okay, hold on, Bart. You've got a video on your website that I want to play. It's a 3-minute moon fraud in 3 minutes video. I want to play that for the audience. This is just a 3-minute overview of some of the highlights of why the moon landings, the Apollo moon landings with human beings were faked. And it also helps answer the question, like, why hasn't America sent people back to the moon? Why hasn't Russia put people on the moon? Why hasn't China or India put people on the moon, or the EU? Because it's not possible for them to survive the journey. That's why. But take a look at this 3-minute video, folks, and then we'll continue.
Some people say it's hard to believe that the moon landings were faked. I say it's hard to believe that they were real. What NASA is claiming is that they went 1,000 times farther than they can go today with 50-year-older technology on the very first attempt with 1/1,000,000th the computing power in all of NASA than is in a cell phone. All the proof that you need that the moon landings are fake is in this one picture. In sunlight, shadows will always run parallel with one another. This is because the sun is about 1,000,000 times bigger than the Earth, and it casts shadows in the same direction over an entire continent. So you'll see in sunlight, shadows always run parallel and never intersect. Here's a picture which the federal government claims was taken on the moon. The astronaut shadow runs at 12 o'clock, And this rock, only about 5 feet away, the shadow runs at 9 o'clock. This is a 90-degree difference from objects 5 feet apart from one another. This proves that this was taken on Earth with an electrical light inside of a television studio. This is all the proof that you need that the moon landings were fake. If Toyota said that they made a car 50 years ago that could go 50,000 miles on a gallon of gasoline, and yet today their best car could only go 50 miles per gallon, or 1,000th the distance, wouldn't the fraud of the previous claim be obvious? And yet this is exactly the moon landing fraud. And yet people don't see it because of their emotional attachment to it. They're claiming they went 1,000 times farther 50 years ago than they can go today with 50-year-older technology. That doesn't make any sense. It's the only time in history that a technological achievement like the automobile or the airplane or nuclear power, that no nation on earth could repeat it 50 years later, when in fact it should be 100 times greater 50 years later. If they could go to the moon with 1960s technology, men would be in another solar system by now. Men would have walked on Mars 10 years later, 40 years ago, which never happened. And there would be bases on the moon there today, of which there are none. It's the only time in the history of the world that technology that cost $175 billion was deliberately destroyed afterwards. Would Bill Gates spend $175 billion to make the first computer and then when he was done, throw it and the schematics in the trash? But that's what NASA claims that they did. They only did that to destroy the evidence of the fraud, which is proof itself that they didn't go, because if they really went, they would never destroy the technology. The B-52 bomber was made 70 years ago and is still in service today in the United States Air Force because it worked so well. Now they want to return to the moon and they're having to recreate all that equipment from scratch because they deliberately destroyed it in order to hide the evidence of the fraud. I say it's harder to believe that the moon landings are real than to believe that they were fake. And this one picture proves that it was taken inside of a television studio on Earth.